Imagine ordering a product online, a smartphone, a laptop, a pair of shoes, or even the coffee you drink every morning. Now imagine that before reaching your doorstep, that product traveled to a giant floating city in the middle of the ocean. Not a ship, not an island, but a massive floating seaport designed to process millions of cargo containers every year. It sounds like science fiction, but engineers around the world are already exploring technologies that can make floating ports one of the biggest transformations in global trade. And if they're successful, the future of shipping may never look the same again. Today, we're exploring one of the most fascinating concepts in modern engineering, the floating megaport, a project that could completely reshape how goods move across our planet. To understand why this idea matters, we first need to understand a growing problem. Global trade has never been larger. Every year, more than 80% of international trade travels by sea. Thousands of cargo ships move continuously between continents, carrying everything from food and electronics to cars and construction materials. Without shipping, modern life would simply stop. But there's a problem. The world's biggest ports are running out of space. Ports such as Shanghai, Singapore, Rotterdam, Los Angeles, and Dubai handle enormous amounts of cargo every day. As ships become larger and global trade continues growing, many ports are struggling to keep up. Congestion is becoming a serious challenge. Cargo ships sometimes wait days or even weeks before receiving permission to unload. The delays create shortages. Businesses lose money. Consumers pay higher prices. And entire supply chains become vulnerable. Many people first noticed this during the COVID-19 pandemic. At one point, dozens of container ships were waiting outside major ports around the world. The image became a symbol of how fragile global logistics can be. That experience forced engineers, governments, and shipping companies to ask a difficult question. What if ports themselves need to evolve? And that's where the floating port concept enters the story. Instead of expanding ports on expensive coastal land, why not build them directly on the ocean? At first, the idea sounded impossible. Ports are incredibly heavy. They contain cranes, warehouses, roads, power systems, fuel facilities, customs checkpoints, and thousands of workers. Building all of that on water seems unrealistic. Yet many of the technologies already exist. Floating structures are not new. For decades, the offshore oil and gas industry has operated giant floating platforms in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Some offshore facilities are larger than aircraft carriers. They survive storms, powerful waves, and years of continuous operation. Engineers have learned a great deal from these projects. Today, many experts believe similar technologies could eventually support floating logistics hubs. But how would such a port actually work? The answer begins with modular design. Instead of one giant platform, many concepts use interconnected floating modules. Think of it like giant building blocks floating on the ocean. Each module serves a specific purpose. Some handle cargo operations. Others provide storage. Some contain power systems. Others support maintenance facilities and worker accommodations. Together, these modules create a massive floating ecosystem. One of the most interesting ideas involves honeycomb architecture. The structure uses interconnected hexagonal platforms, similar to the pattern found inside a beehive. Why hexagons? Because they distribute forces efficiently and allow sections to connect from multiple directions. This creates flexibility while maintaining structural stability. If one section requires expansion, new modules can be added without rebuilding the entire platform. It's a concept inspired by nature itself. But staying afloat is only one challenge. The ocean never stops moving. Waves constantly push and pull on every structure. Strong storms can generate enormous forces. How do engineers keep a floating port stable enough for giant cargo ships? The solution involves advanced mooring systems. Massive anchors secure floating platforms to the seabed. Some concepts use dynamic positioning systems that continuously adjust the structure's position using computer-controlled thrusters. Sophisticated sensors monitor wave conditions in real time. Artificial intelligence analyzes ocean data and helps optimize stability. In many ways, the floating port becomes a giant smart machine. Every movement is measured. Every force is monitored. Every adjustment happens automatically. But stability alone isn't enough. A modern port must move cargo quickly. Some of today's largest container ships carry more than 24,000 containers in a single voyage. Unloading such enormous vessels requires specialized equipment. Future floating ports may rely heavily on automation. Autonomous cranes could load and unload containers around the clock. AI systems could coordinate thousands of container movements simultaneously. Self-driving transport vehicles might move cargo across the platform without human intervention. Advanced logistics software would determine the fastest route for every shipment. Imagine a giant floating warehouse where machines communicate continuously. Every container is tracked. Every movement is optimized. Every second counts. The result could be significantly faster cargo handling compared to many traditional ports. But perhaps the biggest advantage lies elsewhere. Location. Traditional ports must be built near coastlines. Floating ports can be positioned strategically along major shipping routes. This changes everything. Instead of ships traveling all the way to crowded coastal terminals, some cargo could be transferred offshore. Smaller vessels could then distribute goods to regional destinations. This concept is known as offshore transshipment. Several versions already exist in limited forms around the world. Future floating ports could dramatically expand the idea. Imagine a major logistics hub located directly along one of the world's busiest shipping corridors. Ships could unload cargo without ever entering congested harbor systems. Transit times could decrease. Fuel consumption could fall. Port congestion could be reduced. global trade could become more efficient. And efficiency matters more than ever. Every year, billions of products travel through global supply chains. Even small improvements create enormous economic benefits. However, floating ports face major obstacles. The first is cost. Building a floating city-sized structure in the open ocean will require extraordinary investment. Engineers must account for corrosion, maintenance, storms, and decades of operation. Every component must withstand harsh marine conditions. Salt water is relentless. It constantly attacks metal surfaces. Maintenance never stops. Then there are environmental concerns. Oceans are complex ecosystems. Any large offshore infrastructure must minimize impacts on marine life, noise pollution, water quality, fish migration patterns, habitat disruption. All must be carefully studied. Environmental regulations will likely play a major role in determining where and how future floating ports are built. Power generation presents another challenge. A floating port requires enormous amounts of electricity. Future designs may incorporate renewable energy directly into the structure. Solar panels, offshore wind turbines, energy storage systems, hydrogen production facilities. Some concepts even envision floating ports becoming energy hubs as well as logistics centers. This would reduce dependence on mainland infrastructure while improving sustainability. Communication systems are equally important. A floating logistics hub must remain connected to global trade networks at all times. High-speed satellite communications, advanced navigation systems, digital customs processing, AI-powered traffic management. The entire platform would function as a highly connected smart city. In fact, some experts believe future floating ports could become much more than cargo terminals. They could evolve into offshore industrial zones. Manufacturing facilities could operate directly alongside shipping infrastructure. Raw materials arrive, products are assembled, finished goods depart, all within the same floating ecosystem. The concept could dramatically reduce transportation costs while creating entirely new economic opportunities. Several countries are already investing heavily in related technologies. Singapore continues developing advanced automated port systems. The Netherlands is exploring floating infrastructure concepts. Japan has researched floating cities for decades. South Korea is investing in smart maritime technologies. Meanwhile, offshore engineering continues advancing rapidly around the world. The building blocks already exist. The question isn't whether floating infrastructure is possible. The question is how far it can evolve. And perhaps that's what makes this idea so fascinating. 100 years ago, container shipping barely existed. Today, it powers the global economy. What seems futuristic today could become completely normal within a few decades. Floating ports may eventually join the long list of innovations that transformed world trade, just as railways reshaped nations, just as airplanes connected continents, just as container ships revolutionized logistics. Floating infrastructure may represent the next chapter. Will every major port eventually move offshore? Probably not. Traditional ports will remain essential, but future floating logistics hubs could complement existing infrastructure and help solve some of the biggest challenges facing global trade: congestion, limited coastal land, rising cargo volumes, and growing demand for faster delivery. The future of shipping isn't only about building bigger ships. It's about rethinking where those ships go. It may be floating somewhere in the middle of the ocean, waiting to become the next great revolution in global trade. So what do you think? Could floating mega ports become the future of international shipping? Or are traditional ports still the better solution? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fascinating stories about mega projects, engineering, future technology, and world-changing innovations. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.